Today's content is sponsored by Squarespace. If you need a website made, go to squarespace.com/KaneLovesCali to get 10% off your first purchase. Welcome back, you guys, and the Carmelo Anthony era in Houston is basically over. After just 10 games, it's being reported that teammates feel Melo has played his last game for the Rockets, and they are going to waive him and play rookie forward Gary Clark over him. Houston signed Melo to a minimum contract, and the possibility of him getting waived was always something that I thought could happen, but I did not think it would end this quickly and this ugly. Which team do you guys think Melo will get picked up by once he's eventually waived? Let's talk about his short career on the Houston Rockets and what led to it ending. So before we get into how Melo's season in Houston crashed in less than a month, we gotta briefly go over months leading up to game number 1 and his one season in OKC. The big thing that had people excited about Melo on OKC was that his catch and shoot 3-point skill theoretically would be very effective next to two other All-Stars. Melo could provide spacing next to Westbrook and Paul George, as well as those two guys finding Melo when they drive and kick. As Melo goes into his mid-30s, he can transform himself into someone who uses a majority of his possessions as a spot-up shooter at the power forward spot. We hear all about Olympic Melo, the guy that was dominating on Team USA. Yes, he was playing with the best talents in the world, but at the end of the day, he was making his open catch and shoot threes. In Melo's last season with the Knicks, he shot 42% on catch and shoot threes and was one of the top players in the league in total catch and shoot 3-pointers made. But in his one season in OKC, that number dropped to 37%, which isn't awful, but he wasn't making those shots at a high enough rate to make up for his deficiencies as a defender and passer. There were other issues as well that contributed, but the fact that he wasn't making his catch and shoot threes like he was just one season ago hurt OKC's offense. Melo was eventually traded to Atlanta, then bought out, and he would eventually sign a minimum deal with the Houston Rockets. Now, I'm not going to say every Houston fan was saying this, but there was some optimism that, oh, now he's playing with one of his closest friends in Chris Paul, who makes pinpoint passes all over the court. It will be good for him. There were some people saying, oh, Russ isn't a real point guard, he'll be better with CP3. I never agreed with the notion that Melo's problems were Russ's fault. Plus, he was going into Houston with expectations of not being a part of a big three. They won 65 games without him, and he'll have to fit in with their system. Melo has some possible upside, plus he's on a minimum deal, so they could cut him at any time. Not to mention everybody from the players to Daryl Morey to Mike D'Antoni were saying the right things publicly. They were looking forward to bringing Melo in. This will be different from the Knicks, and they understand each other now. There were some okay signs in the preseason that gave people optimism, but how bad could it possibly get? But like Chris Paul said after Game 4 versus the Jazz in the second round, it did get bad real quick. In game number 1, every criticism of Melo's game was on full display in the 27 minutes he played against the Pelicans. He took 10 shots and only scored 9 points, he picked up 4 fouls and was just a sloth on defense. I don't think it's 100% an effort thing on defense with Melo, I think it's like 60%. He just doesn't have lateral movement anymore. It legitimately looks like he can't move with anyone on the perimeter. The one thing about his defense that really bothers me is when he has to defend the rim and he does that dumb swipe in the air as if he's a shot blocker. Those block attempts do absolutely nothing, and he'd be so much more effective if he just tried to put two hands up to alter the shot. Melo's defense is bad, but at least he'll shoot okay on catch and shoot threes, right? Well, that didn't happen. In 10 games with the Rockets, Melo was shooting 33% on catch and shoot 3-point shots, which is even lower from what he was shooting in OKC, and not even close to the 42% he was making in New York. As his athleticism declines, Melo's not going to get that same lift from his legs on his jumper as he used to, so it's going to be inconsistent. It wasn't all bad for him though. He did have a couple good shooting games, including one in a win against the Brooklyn Nets that the Rockets really needed without Harden playing. The Houston Rockets were 11 points per 100 possessions better when he was off the floor, so Melo was not helping. So was Melo the reason why the Rockets started so poorly? Absolutely not. The suspensions, injuries, and poor offensive play from their best 3 scorers had more to do with it. Harden, CP3, and Eric Gordon have all struggled in certain games this year, so you can't put all that on Melo. But at the same time, he wasn't helping their offense outside of a few games, so it's tough to play him. If he's not making his shots, you can't really count on him at this stage of his career. The end of Melo's time in Houston came after an awful performance against the OKC Thunder where he shot 1 of 11 from the field. News later came out that the Rockets had discussions about his role with the team going forward, and soon it'd be reported that his teammates felt he played his last game with the team. This feels like bullying at this point because he's been playing since 2003. We've been spoiled by LeBron being awesome still, but at the same time, if Melo still thinks he's a 30-minute per game player at this stage, then I don't have much to say. He's not responsible for all of Houston's problems, but he wasn't going to help them either. Houston's offense is James Harden, CP3, and Eric Gordon creating most of the shots, then everyone else falls in line as either a spot-up shooter or roll man. Gary Clark and James Ennis fit the mold of guys who are fine with playing 30 minutes a game for defensive purposes, but maybe only getting 5 to 6 shots a night. Carmelo was not helping Houston's defense, and he likes to take shots outside of spot-up threes, which isn't compatible with Houston's style of play. And if he can't succeed now with one of his friends in CP3, then I don't know which playoff team he can do well on. Melo at this point of his career is not helping any team looking to get home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Now, do I think he's someone who should be out of the league? No. He's still a decent post-up player and can get your team points as he's shown this year, but it has to be on a non-playoff team, but I don't really know which one. The Hawks would have been perfect for him if he stayed there, as he could play no defense and just chuck up some shots. I should have known this was going to end quickly once their assistant coach retired like a few days or a week after Melo signed. That right there should have been the light bulb, but I really didn't think it was going to be less than a month he'd be out. So thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. If you don't know what Squarespace is, it's a place where you go to create your own website, domain, or online store. What's great about Squarespace is the quality and accessibility they offer. If you're like me and you know nothing about code or have no design skills, Squarespace will do all the work for you. They have nice templates to choose from that makes your site look real professional. It's important to say that if you support Squarespace, you're also supporting my content, so if you, a friend, or a family member wants to make something cool, go to squarespace.com/KaneLovesCali for a free trial, and if you like the free trial and want to keep going with your site, use the offer code KANE for 10% off your first purchase. The link will be in the description. So Carmelo Anthony off the Houston Rockets in less than a month of the regular season. That's wild, man. I'm sure we'll know more about the situation days after this is uploaded, so we'll see what happens. Appreciate you guys for making it to the end of the video. We are pretty close to 200,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for always coming through, commenting, and liking. Appreciate you guys again, and I'll see you soon.